Today, a local street-level drug trafficker is taking helicopter flight lessons in Dubai.
Yep,
An 800 drone swarm has just fundamentally rewritten the rules of modern warfare overnight.
it really has.
And a locally manufactured coconut dewatering machine is somehow sharing the global innovation stage with a $40 million electric Ferrari. Welcome to RTV Global Network.
Thanks for joining us.
Today is Monday, 17/08/2026, and I'm Julian.
And I'm Clara. And today's deep dive is a comprehensive sweep of the day's most critical local and global events.
Right?
We are parsing through this massive stack of economic shifts, underworld exposes, geopolitical shockwaves, and sports triumphs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All to help you cut through the noise and understand the underlying currents that are shaping reality right now.
So let's just dive right in.
Yeah, let's start right where the pressure is the highest, which is the overarching mood of the public. Specifically, how these brutal economic pressures are reshaping the relationship between citizens and the state here in Sri Lanka.
Right, because there's a new Verite research poll that just dropped.
Yes, and it shows public approval of the government sitting at exactly 50%.
Wow, 50.
Just 50. And that number is largely being driven by a, severely weakened economic outlook.
I mean, that 50% approval isn't just some abstract political metric. It's a direct reflection of daily friction for the average person.
Absolutely.
We are seeing economists heavily criticize the central bank right now for a 2-year inflation miss.
2 whole years.
Yeah, and the phrase they're actively using is no anchor, no accountability.
Oh, that's heavy. No anchor.
Right, because an inflation target is supposed to be an anchor. It's a promise to the public that their money will retain its value.
Sure.
And when that anchor drags for 2 years, trust just evaporates.
It completely disappears, yeah.
So these economists are urging the government to fundamentally change its metrics. They want the state to stop worshiping macroeconomic growth.
Like the big numbers.
Exactly, and start measuring actual ground-level poverty.
Which is such a vital distinction to make for you listening, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have a gross domestic product that looks fantastic on a national spreadsheet.
Oh, sure.
But if the average person is rationing basic groceries because of inflation, the spreadsheet is a fiction.
Oh, boy.
And you can actually see this exact squeeze happening in the corporate sector, too.
How so?
Well, on one hand, you have legacy giants like Bank of Ceylon. They just delivered a massive 52.7 billion rupee profit before tax for the first half of 2026.
That's huge.
Right. But then you look at smaller or specialized players like Cargill's Bank and DFCC.
Right.
Their earnings have slipped or fallen entirely.
Wow.
And it's not because they aren't generating business. Their core fee incomes are actually really strong.
Okay, so what's the issue?
It's the sheer operational costs.
Yeah.
Just keeping the lights on in a high inflation environment is completely devouring their margins.
That makes sense. It perfectly illustrates how high inflation distorts reality. Massive entities can absorb the shock. But anyone without those massive reserves simply watches their margins evaporate.
Exactly.
And the government is clearly trying to balance this equation right now. They've just allocated 45 billion rupees to complete stalled hospital projects.
Which is a desperately needed injection of capital.
It really is, especially into public infrastructure. But, to pay for that, they have to tighten the revenue net.
Right. The money has to come from somewhere.
Right. So the Inland Revenue Department is making a revised VAT invoice format mandatory starting October 1st, 2026.
Oh.
They are basically trying to squeeze out every drop of legitimate tax revenue to fund these projects.
And that leads right into the accountability side of this whole situation.
Yeah.
We are seeing a major flurry of anti-corruption actions right now.
We really are.
President Anura Kumara Dissanayake is personally overseeing an audit committee to investigate alleged financial fraud at Nuwara Eliya Divisional Secretariat offices. And at the exact same time, 14 different officials are facing legal action over the Aswasuma Fund fraud.
14. That's a significant sweep.
It is. But there are deeply conflicting narratives here.
There always are.
Right. So the Rajapaksa has publicly alleged that the government is actually taking revenge against the opposition under the guise of these investigations.
Oh, I see.
So just to be completely clear, we aren't taking sides here, but you have this intense friction between official anti-corruption drives and claims of political maneuvering.
Right, and it highlights the difficulty of executing any sort of systemic reform.
Yeah.
When a system has been opaque for decades, any attempt to audit it will inevitably disrupt established power networks.
For sure.
The challenge for the public, for you, the citizen, is figuring out whether an investigation is a genuine surgical strike against corruption or, simply a tool to neutralize political opponents.
Honestly, looking at these measures, it
Mm.
kind of feels like we were trying to bail water out of a sinking boat with a teaspoon.
It's a teaspoon.
I mean, auditing a local secretariat in Nuwara Eliya or catching 14 officials in the Oswasuma fraud, that is necessary maintenance.
Mhm.
That is bailing water. But the actual hull of the boat, the macroeconomy, the soaring cost of living, that massive inflation miss we talked about, is structurally cracked.
Yeah, that's the real problem.
But I have to ask, does that 50% public approval rating simply reflect a structural fatigue among the public? Like a fatigue that no amount of local auditing can fix?
I think that is precisely the mechanism at play. Accountability in local offices is vital, don't get me wrong,
Sure.
but you cannot audit your way out of structural inflation.
Yeah.
If the underlying currency and the cost of living aren't stabilized, removing a few corrupt officials doesn't fundamentally change the daily struggle of the citizen.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And that exact lack of structural integrity in the official economy is creating a massive vacuum.
Right.
A vacuum that transnational crime is aggressively rushing to fill.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's look at the underworld for a second. The acting government analyst just revealed a statistic that is genuinely hard to process.
What is it?
70% of their department's reports now relate to drugs.
70%.
70%.
Yeah.
That means the state's entire forensic apparatus is now essentially functioning as a massive drug testing laboratory.
Wow. That speaks to a total transformation of the criminal justice system's workload.
Yeah.
It is no longer dealing with a wide spectrum of localized crime. It is being entirely consumed by the narcotics trade.
Exactly.
And the sophistication of this trade is what's truly alarming to me.
Yes, because when we say drugs, we aren't talking about local corner pushers anymore.
Not at all.
Take the case of Shran Basic. He's a major drug trafficker currently in custody. Interrogations have just revealed that he received helicopter flying training in Dubai.
Wait, what? Helicopter training?
Helicopter training in Dubai. And beyond that, he actually holds stakes in 5 different hotels along Marine Drive.
That's insane.
It gets crazier. Authorities are also currently working to extradite organized criminal Kanjipani Imran back to Sri Lanka. But wait, let's pause for a second on Basic. Dubai helicopter training. 5 hotels on prime real estate. How does a local street trafficker suddenly acquire the logistical capability and investment portfolio of, like, a multinational CEO?
Well, because the underworld has evolved into a transnational corporate enterprise.
It's a business.
Exactly. It is a highly liquid, borderless economy. A trafficker operating at that level isn't just moving illicit goods.
Right.
They are heavily engaged in money laundering, real estate inflation, and integrating their wealth into the legitimate hospitality sector.
So they're buying up real estate.
Yes. They operate with unlimited capital and zero bureaucratic friction. Meanwhile, local law enforcement is constrained by municipal budgets,
Red tape.
jurisdictional borders, and immense red tape.
It's an extreme asymmetry of resources.
Yeah.
I mean, the bad guys are literally learning to fly helicopters in foreign luxury capitals.
Right.
While local authorities are struggling with basic logistics.
And you see that logistical breakdown trickling down into everyday public safety, too.
Oh, big time. Look at the bizarre story today regarding missing school textbooks.
I saw that.
An investigation by the Department of Education just revealed that the transporter hired to move the books actually sold the stock.
It's just pure opportunism.
Exactly. And then you have these deeply tragic local incidents alongside it. A 12-year-old boy died after falling from an apartment in Colombo, 09.
Oh, that's awful.
It is. And there was a fatal shooting of a man on Hulu Road in Mount Lavinia. It just feels like the basic social fabric, the everyday order of things, is unraveling.
It is a whole spectrum of systemic failure. On one end, you have criminal syndicates with enough capital to buy hotel empires.
Right.
On the other end, the state cannot guarantee the secured transport of basic educational materials.
Basic textbooks.
And public spaces are increasingly becoming sites of violence and tragedy. When the formal economy fails to provide security and stability, the informal, often violent economy expands to take its place.
And this unraveling social fabric is being pushed to the absolute brink by the physical environment itself.
Yeah, the weather has been insane.
The climatic extremes we are tracking today are staggering. Dengue cases have officially surpassed the 90,000 mark.
Wow.
Sitting at 92,011 as of today, with Colombo being the absolute hardest hit.
That's a massive outbreak.
And perfectly overlapping with this viral outbreak, we have extreme hot weather warnings. Temperatures are maxing out at 36.9 degrees Celsius.
That is sweltering.
Official warnings have been issued for 7 districts, including Mulativu, Vavuniya, Trincomalee, and Polonnaruwa.
You know, the human body, much like a city's infrastructure, has a finite capacity to handle compounding stress.
Right.
A heat wave of nearly 37 degrees forces the body to expend massive energy just to regulate its core temperature.
Just to stay alive, basically.
Exactly. When you introduce a severe viral infection like dengue into a population already physically exhausted by extreme heat, you are guaranteeing a surge in critical cases.
Which goes right back to the hospital.
Exactly. It tests the absolute limits of that hospital infrastructure we mentioned earlier.
It's an exhausting compound effect on the land. And that environmental strain is extending violently out into the ocean, too.
What's happening there?
The Navy had just had to appoint a board of inquiry after a fast attack craft actually capsized off Angolana.
A Navy craft capsized?
Yes, and search operations for a missing sailor are still intensely ongoing as we speak.
Oh, wow.
Further north, a passenger boat heading from Curacauquan to Delft encountered severe distress. That required the rescue of 10 people by the Navy.
That's terrifying.
Inland, there's a terrible bathing tragedy in the Maha Oya that left a 19-year-old dead and another missing.
It's just tragedy after tragedy.
And on top of the environmental dangers, the Minister of Fisheries is publicly vowing swift action against pirate threats targeting deep-sea fishermen.
Pirates.
Yeah, pirates. It seems like the baseline of simply existing, whether you are navigating a river or deep-sea fishing, has become incredibly hostile.
It really has.
The infrastructure just wasn't built for these extremes. So how should we read this? Are these isolated incidents or a bigger pattern?
Well, the environment is becoming noticeably more volatile, which fundamentally changes the risk calculus for any maritime operation.
Right.
Rougher, less predictable, seas stress naval vessels and civilian ferries alike. And when you factor in the economic desperation we discussed earlier, it directly drives spikes in maritime crime, like piracy.
Because people are desperate.
Exactly. The ocean is becoming an increasingly contested and dangerous space, both meteorologically and socially.
And if our local infrastructure is cracking under environmental and social pressure, zooming out to the global stage shows entire nations fracturing under the weight of technological and natural devastation.
The global shifts right now are massive.
The geopolitics are shifting at a terrifying velocity. In what is being described as one of the largest aerial assaults of the conflict, Ukraine just attacked Russia with hundreds of drones.
Hundreds?
Russia claims to have downed over 800 drones overnight.
I mean, the sheer scale of that number, 800 drones in a single night, marks a monumental shift in the nature of warfare.
It's hard to even picture.
We are no longer talking about traditional artillery barrages or localized troop movements. This is automated algorithmic warfare.
The mechanics of that are just staggering to think about. You aren't deploying 800 highly trained pilots.
No.
You are filling the sky with nearly 1,000 unmanned explosive devices coordinating a unified attack. It changes the entire physical reality of a battlefield.
It is the democratization and mass production of destruction.
Wow. Mass production of destruction.
Because drones are relatively cheap to manufacture, highly precise, and they fundamentally change how you defeat an enemy.
Right, you don't need a billion-dollar fighter jet.
You don't necessarily have to outmaneuver them anymore. You just program a swarm large enough to mathematically overwhelm their air defense systems.
Because they can only shoot down so many.
Exactly. A defense battery only has so many interceptor missiles. A swarm of 800 drones is designed to exhaust the defense simply through sheer volume.
Right.
It requires software and manufacturing capacity, and it completely alters the calculus of global security.
And right in the middle of this high-tech algorithmic warfare in Europe, there are attempts at incredibly traditional Cold War-era diplomacy happening in Asia.
Yeah, quite the contrast.
South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has proposed talks with North Korea to formally end the Korean War.
Which is incredible because that's a conflict that has technically been ongoing, suspended only by an armistice since the 1950s.
It's a striking contrast of eras. But nature, again, dwarfs human conflict.
Always
A
does.
devastating magnitude 7.7 earthquake just hit eastern Indonesia, killing 51 people and forcing 5,000 to instantly evacuate.
7.7 is massive.
It is. Sri Lanka has formally expressed deep sorrow over the event.
A A 7.7 magnitude event is structurally catastrophic. The energy released at that tectonic scale doesn't just destroy buildings, it permanently alters the geography and destroys the deep infrastructure of the region.
And tragically, the global casualties don't end there today. We are tracking a ferry disaster on Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe that left at least 72 dead, including 18 children.
Just heartbreaking.
In Europe, a Polish bus crashed on a Hungarian motorway, killing 12 and injuring 10.
Oh my goodness.
And there's one more incident that serves as a really dark collision of technology and nature. In the United States, 2 Army pilots were killed in Texas when their AH-64 Apache helicopter crashed.
Oh man.
But the crash itself then ignited a massive secondary wildfire in the surrounding area.
So a machine of war falls from the sky and immediately triggers an environmental catastrophe.
Exactly. It is a heavy list of events to absorb.
It really is.
But, for every story of a helicopter igniting a fire, there was another story of human engineering attempting to put out the proverbial fires of our era.
Right. Let's look at some of the positives.
Because alongside the chaos, there are massive breakthroughs. Let's look at innovation. Ferrari has just sold its first ever all-electric car for a record $40 million at a charity auction.
$40 million. That is a phenomenal turning point for the automotive industry.
For Ferrari, especially.
Exactly, because Ferrari is a legacy brand built entirely on the visceral roaring sound of a V12 combustion engine.
Oh yeah, the noise is the whole brand.
For them to successfully pivot a flagship hypercar to silent electric power and have the market eagerly validate that pivot with a $40 million price tag, it proves that even the most entrenched legacy traditions can adapt to a carbon-neutral future.
And this is honestly my favorite contrast of the day. You have this $40 million electric supercar revolutionizing green tech on one side of the globe. And locally, right here, a company called ISF has just launched the world's first fully automated coconut dewatering system.
I love that.
Right. Innovation happens at every conceivable scale. You don't need to be in Maranello, Italy, building supercars to change an industry.
No, you don't.
You can be right here, fundamentally revolutionizing the efficiency of agricultural processing.
Because innovation is ultimately just the application of engineering to the specific problem in front of you.
Yeah.
For Ferrari, the problem is the global energy transition. For ISF, the problem is local agricultural yield and processing efficiency.
Exactly.
Both require brilliant problem-solving minds.
And that brilliance extends right onto the playing field today, too. The sports world is seeing massive triumphs and disruptions.
Let's hear it.
Let's start locally. Sri Lanka's Rumesh Tharanga has officially climbed to world #1 in men's javelin.
Incredible achievement.
And he didn't just quietly take the top spot. He publicly declared that his ultimate goal is to bring home an Olympic gold.
I mean, that is the exact kind of undeniable confidence you love to see. He is setting a new standard for track and field in the region.
He really is. And speaking of disrupting standards, cricket history was made today.
Oh, yes.
Bangladesh secured their first ever test win against Australia with an incredible 9-wicket victory.
That is a seismic result.
Totally.
It disrupts the entire established hierarchy of the sport and leaves the ICC World Test Championship race completely wide open.
It totally shatters the myth of legacy dominance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, beating Australia in a test match is one of the hardest things to do in sports.
Absolutely.
Bangladesh dismantling them proves that the skill gap in international cricket is rapidly closing.
For sure.
Meanwhile, we also have India putting up a massive 460 for 9 against Sri Lanka's spinners.
There is just a lot of aggressive play happening across all formats right now.
Yeah, we saw the Galley Gallants crown the LPL 2026 champions.
Right.
Over in the UK, the Manchester Supergiants won their maiden men's 100 title, largely driven by Seifert's heroics against the Trent Rockets.
Fantastic match.
However, in the Asian Netball Championship, Sri Lanka slipped down to 3rd place as Singapore managed to expertly retain their crown.
And, even away from the actual gameplay, there are major power struggles in the boardrooms of sports.
Oh, right, the UEFA situation.
Exactly. UEFA is currently threatening to boycott World Cups entirely if controversial new FIFA plans are approved.
That's massive.
It's a stark reminder that sports at the highest level are as much about geopolitics, revenue control, and institutional power as they are about what happens on the pitch.
The friction between UEFA and FIFA is essentially a geopolitical trade war.
Yeah.
It's played out through the medium of global football.
Spot on.
So let's just sort of synthesize The incredible whiplash of the world today.
It's been a lot.
We are living in a reality where different segments of society seem to be operating in completely different centuries all at once.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
In a single 24-hour cycle, we are tracking a highly localized scandal about basic school textbooks being opportunistically sold by a transporter.
Mhm.
At the exact same time, military forces are deploying 800 drone algorithmic swarms in coordinated warfare.
It's jarring. We have local criminal syndicates possessing the capital to learn to fly helicopters in Dubai,
Unbelievable.
while a historic legacy brand successfully pivots to selling a $40 million electric car. The spectrum of human capability, both for creation and destruction, has just never been wider or more volatile.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to really mull over as you go about your day.
Right.
We are clearly accelerating into a highly advanced automated future. Technology is allowing for multi-million-dollar green supercars, automated drone swarms, and sophisticated international logistics for local criminals.
Yeah.
But as the world speeds up, are our local institutions, the ones still struggling with the basic physical transport of school textbooks, the ones relying on manual audits to catch fraud, are they actually equipped to survive this future?
That's the big question.
Or are we driving a hyper-advanced speeding car while relying on an institutional dashboard built for a completely different century?
I really think it is the defining challenge of our era, closing that massive gap between technological capability and institutional readiness.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Navigating an unpredictable world requires cutting through the noise, and staying informed is the very best way to keep your hands on the wheel.